Bio-based solutions and materials hold significant potential for decarbonizing the built environment. Dr. Andreja Kutnar, a professor of wood science at the University of Primorska, leads research on renewable materials and sustainable construction. She is also the acting department chair of InnoRenew, an independent research institute within the university that focuses on renewable materials and innovative approaches to wood use. In addition, she heads the new European Bauhaus Academy, a flagship initiative of the European Commission dedicated to developing skills for sustainable construction. Today, we are joined by Dr. Andreja to understand the science shaping the built environment. Hi, Dr. Andreja. Thank you for joining us. We would love to hear your perspective on biomaterials and their potential applications in the built environment today, particularly in wood architecture. To begin, technologies such as digital twins are known to support sustainable construction. From your perspective, what role do biology and material science play in further advancing sustainable innovations for the built environment?
I could emphasize the need that actually the biology is integrated into the digital world, because today the digital technologies oftentimes are considering wood and wood engineered products as one entry point, but the fact is that with time they are changing, especially when it comes to visual appearance. So I would be hoping that in the future, actually, these digital technologies would actually be very transparent and honest about the material for the future users. And that due to of course, the fear that the wood scientists we are having towards moisture, that the designs would be approached such that already in the design phase, we would have the locations of sensors for long-term monitoring of timber buildings would be already implemented. And then, of course, also the users could build up trust towards the building because they could also monitor it continuously. And the material science and biology, I think here we have a lot of room for improvements, and especially because maybe if until recently we were mainly looking how to do less harm for the environment when constructing and building the building. Now the time came that we actually step towards regenerative sustainability and how we can be actually utilizing engineered living materials that during the use of a building we also contribute to the positive changes. And one example could be the cleaning the air or lowering the temperatures in the cities and similarly.
And what would you consider the most groundbreaking innovation or development in the industry so far, or perhaps the most significant project you have been directly involved in?
Say that our sector is a bit specific because it's not like just producing the same chairs every like 4 years, but it's actually the buildings itself. If we focus on a building, it's everyone is a bit different. It's rarely that we would have like then in case of the modular housing, sometimes it is that we have repeating dimensions, and designs. But otherwise, I think that this is something that maybe we don't often enough emphasize, that it's a constant innovation because it's constant something is different, and even if it's the same, it's built in a different location, so it needs to be addressed this as well. When it comes to what is like kind of like the biggest innovation that I've been like seeing, it's very hard, to emphasize one or spot one, because we are working on so many different projects and there is so many aspects that needs to be actually addressed, from wood modification, to the acoustics, to development of like the acoustic flooring, on then how to utilize recovered wood or like the recycling and the circular economy aspects. And I think that the small steps have been made on many, many different eras. But maybe what I would emphasize is that what I am currently like very pleased that we were able to kind of step in is that we build up several partnerships with industry where we are co-creating the knowledge. So it's not only about innovation, is not about knowledge transfer from the research or academia to the industry, but actually building up a partnership where we create a new knowledge together. And we are doing this with the Slovenian company Ledinek, who is producing the presses for the CLT, as well as other machinery for the production of the CLT panels, where we are together tackling the challenge of using a new resource, a new wood species that we haven't met before, in creating the engineered wood products, enabling the construction of a wooden building together. And of course, this is an important innovation that is happening in different parts of the world, where we are learning what the resource is, which resource is available. And I've been mentioning earlier already these engineered living materials. This, I believe, it's really kind of like it's at a low technology readiness levels, so we will still need to wait a bit, but I believe that that is the new step in the built environment and regenerative sustainability, so that we learn how to actually mimic the nature, how to observe the nature and bring this into our built environments.
Engineered living materials such as Archiskin and Remedy represent an exciting frontier for InnoRenew. How do you envision these being applied in wood architecture in the future?
So finally, we have the wooden facades, which will be the same color constantly, and they will withstand heat and coldness. And this actually, I started with my answer on the other end, but maybe I should start with the Archiskin in general, what it is. Archiskin, it's a research project that is very low technology readiness level. Is very fundamental project where we are actually searching for the best fungi that can be used for protecting the timber, concrete, or steel. And it's a fungi that protects wood, doesn't deteriorate it, but is protecting the wood towards the other microorganisms that would be attacking it. So it's an example of mimicking nature and observing the nature, which is already taking place. And it's been kind of like the ecosystems have been developed for many, many, many years. And we are having a patent application because we successfully found the fungi that can actually successfully protect these different building materials. So hopefully in the next years to come, not in too long of a future, we will have also the commercialization of this coating. And so currently we are kind of hiding it a bit. We think that it's a really breakthrough innovation with high potential. And what is also very specific for it is that we are having these solutions that can enable different colors of the coating, because not to be like ignoring the fact that there is already one product on the market and it's from Netherlands, but it's only black. And the building that is behind me here on the screen has certain elements of facade where it's large wood and has this biofinish actually applied on it. So currently it's 4 years since we coated it and it's still there, and nothing seems to be changing. So we are also kind of testing it. But on the other hand, the Remedy project is also financed by European Commission, but is more kind of like applied, and it's kind of like high risk, high gain. And if everything works out perfectly, we will be 3D printing the signs of the buildings with a big name InnoRenew on a building that will be actually with the fungi that will have also the absorption capacity of absorbing the VOC emissions and other pollutants of the environment in the outdoor environment. So here it goes beyond actually understanding the fungi, and like also we are also developing it from other the engineered living materials like bacteria and algae, but it is involving also the development of technology of the 3D printing of this living material, so that it's not just an ordinary ink, but it's an ink that actually grows. And so this is under development, and hopefully it's going to be in a few years also available on the market. But here we are developing it kind of with the intention that we soon enter the market, because we also work with it with some companies that are also able to do the 3D printing.
The new European Bauhaus Academy aims to train, upskill, and reskill the construction ecosystem to achieve a carbon neutral, sustainable, and inclusive built environment. In your view, what are the most critical skill gaps in the sector?
Here, maybe I could first state that construction ecosystem, it's a really broad word, and it's covering from engineers to the construction companies, to architects, to policymakers, then the founders, standardization committees, and similarly. But if we look at the sector itself, if we say maybe engineers, construction companies, and architects, the ones that actually gather to build a building, what we identified through our surveys throughout Europe is that the gaps are quite high in the digitalization aspects, in the circularity and circular business models, as well as just that the fact that building with wood requires certain specifics. And of course, sometimes, it's hard to have the same workforce and use different types of building materials. And with timber, unfortunately, we need to be very careful, because on that day when we are putting one element into the building, if we weren't careful, we will only see the arrow in a few years, when potentially some decay can happen and some leakage and similarly. So there is a huge need to understanding the material, that the construction sector understands the material that is very specific. And also with the digital kind of technologies, which I mentioned in the first answer, I believe we need to be supporting that, then the architects as well as the engineers, that we are actually collecting the data and doing the healthy monitoring, because definitely errors can happen. But then if I go further with this kind of like ecosystem, what we have in mind, and it's in several countries, even in Europe, where I'm having way more knowledge about it than other parts of the world, there are regulations that are not enabling us building with wood, and mainly the fear of fire, and like then if you build with timber, you can, but you need to cover it so it cannot be visible for some public bigger buildings and so on. So there is quite a bit of need to also be educating the policy makers as well as the insurances. Can share an experience of mine when we were searching for the insurance for our building, which is the biggest wooden building in Slovenia, made of cross-laminated timber. And the insurance officers came and they were all kind of like worried about the fire. And then I said to them, well, let's go a bit through the aspects of timber buildings. And I explained to them that we are not afraid of a fire, and that it can be even way safer than some other building materials type of a building. And that what we are really fearing as wood scientists is water. And then their response was, oh, but you have a lot of windows. And I was like, maybe I didn't do this correctly now, But anyhow, so they insured the building. But I saw also that there is, of course, different sectors needs to be informed, because building is a very holistic approach requiring, because there are so many different specialists that are involved in a building itself during the decision for it, constructing it, as well as then after when it's in use. When we are discussing the circular economy, at least in Europe, we are used to castles, and whatever we build, it should last for centuries, and then it should be for many generations. So we have the challenge that we need to also kind of like change the perception of people. And there is a huge opportunity for timber construction, for design for disassembly, meaning that the building can actually be also changing according to our needs as our life is developing through the years. And so therefore we do quite a bit of activities also in the terms of like general awareness raising.
And how does the Academy support the goals of the European Green Deal?
The Academy is the new European Bauhaus Academy is kind of was set up because what it was actually in the frame of the Green Deal realized that the buildings are an important contributor to the climate impacts that we are having in Europe and beyond. And therefore, there was this kind of push that we need to be building with more renewable materials, that we need to be responsible how we build. And then when it was further kind of enhanced, the promotion and the different member states were encouraged to build with more with wood and other renewable materials, it was realized that we lack skills. And it was identified that 3 million workers in the construction ecosystem, they need to be reskilled or upskilled in order that we can actually achieve the targets of becoming climate neutral by 2050. And Academy is actually organizing different types of trainings, and we are organized in different hubs throughout Europe, and we are making dedicated trainings for different target groups. And for example, if you go on our webpage of NEP Academy, you can also read the training materials that were prepared, some specifically for the architects in Italy, because of course lifelong learning in Italy for the architects, it's defining how long the training should be, that there needs to be exam at the end. And here I would say this is just kind of as an example, but we have also for other types of trainings. And for example, in the mid of November, we are organizing in Austria so-called Train the Trainer training, where the teachers of carpentry schools in Austria will be actually trained on the innovative technologies. And hopefully with that, there will be also the transition and the pass to the new generations that are actually today only in the schools and getting ready for the sector. So it's a very different aspects. We are also making sure to deliver these trainings in different languages. And we started counting, and until 2030, these 3 million workers should be retrained or upskilled and reskilled. So it's quite a bit of a challenge, but we are supposed to enable the transition of the built environment.
Earlier, you mentioned fire safety being a key concern when it comes to building with timber. Timber is often associated with misconceptions regarding durability, safety, and sustainability. What are some of the other more common misconceptions you have encountered, and how do you think they can best be addressed?
Yes, so kind of it's you listed them all. I think that the most common one that I get is fire, I would say, and the durability itself. And so how in my belief, we need to be building the buildings that are publicly available where the society can actually experience the built environment and build up trust. So we are trying constantly, to also deliver the opportunity that people experience in like spending a day or a few hours in different types of environments and actually be convinced that actually it can be really really prestigious and safe environment where they actually also feel way better than in some artificial environments, if I say so. And this is also something that we are trying to do, is to actually do studies on how the different built environments are actually impacting the human well-being, and in which environments we are recovering from stress faster, and with the multisensory impacts or the perceptions that we are actually in different environments perceiving, we aim that in the next few years we would be able to also do some personalized designs of built environment based on the knowledge obtained, meaning that how much wood, how much natural light, what sounds of nature we should bring indoors that will be best suited for different audience or different users. Either is this based on the fact that someone grew up in a rural area or in the urban, or it's someone from southern hemisphere or east west, or is it Europe? And different countries of course have also different kind of like backgrounds where they feel best, or the people where they feel best. So I would say that the next step beyond the regenerative sustainability, we need to go towards personalized designs of the built environment. They will be able to reflect and they will be able to trust the built environments they will be in.
In Europe, sustainable bio-based materials such as the circular use of wood and other innovative materials are increasingly being adopted. Do you see similar potential in Southeast Asia, and what challenges might need to be addressed for broader adoption?
Yeah, well, I wish that it would be true that we are all mastering and knowing how to apply the circular economy in Europe, but there is a lot of activities, a lot of awareness, also a lot of wishes to do it. However, I would say that we have very well managed cascade utilization of timber, so but going down, the chain. However, a reuse of for example, a wooden beam that is perfect, you can use it again as a beam, or use it in the engineered wood product as a glue lam or cross-laminated timber. This we cannot do yet because our standards and regulations are not allowing. So that another aspect is like how to bring all these materials from the current building stock back to the manufacturing facility. And so we are constantly doing different studies, demonstrations, and so on, but widely use still is not. And I think that the Southeast Asia definitely has the potential to be even faster than us because you know that if you will enable that the standards, that the policy would be actually allowing the reuse, simple reuse, then you can of course be very successful. I would say that again here there needs to be a perception that of people that are happy to be actually having an old material in their built environment as well. So this kind of like social sciences or maybe social skills when trying to introduce a new product to the market will be even more important. And somehow let's hope that it becomes a trendy thing so that everyone will want to know where that piece of wood that is in their building has been until then, and they will be proud of it and actually also trust this material that it is providing a secured environment. I think we are all knowing what we need to do, and the fact is that we need to learn to treat the buildings as a bank of materials, that in the building they are actually increasing the value, and of course develop the business models that will enable us the reuse then of different elements, and not only in the cascade manner but actually in the same level of the product category as it was first use of a timber element.
Thank you, Dr. Andreja, for sharing your insights on nature-based solutions, especially on the role of wood in supporting regenerative sustainability. We really appreciate your time. The construction sector is one of the largest contributors to the climate crisis, making it a priority for transformation. Europe is leading the way in bio-based solutions, and as we look ahead, it may be time to rethink how the built environment is shaped and how scientific knowledge can be effectively transferred into practice.